We need to get on offense. I love you, but I'll put a bullet in you. I think we just started a fucking war.
Monet, again. She's always the problem.
She has to go, Tariq.
Going into episodes 9 and 10, we know where we are with most of our storylines, and I say most of them because Power Book 2 Go sure do loves bringing up some major surprises, twists and turns, as well as set up plots and storylines going into season 4. So in this video, we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be breaking down every single teaser and trailer scene that we haven't seen yet that are most likely to come in episodes 9 and 10. What we're going to go through are scenes from the official teaser that was released back in December, the official trailer for Go Season 3, as well as the season trailer that was released after episode 1. And I do know there are further social media teasers that are released every so often, but it is hard to keep a track of them because not everybody always sees them. But there are a few that I'm going to bring in to paint the picture of a few storylines. So there is a lot to unpack, from Tariq looking like he's looking for revenge, Kane protecting the Tejada house, and what seems like the first meeting between Monet and Noma. So we're going to break down these scenes by going through some evidence, facts and findings, and then we're going to round up with my own thoughts and theories as well as some predictions. Now let's start with Tariq St. Patrick, and we're going to take it all the way back to December 2022. This was the first official teaser that was released from Ghost, with Tariq holding a gun to someone and saying they've just started a war. Although we do have to bear in mind, voiceovers over particular scenes aren't always 100% accurate, because Power do a great job in manipulating these trailers to completely throw us down the wrong direction. Tariq's also wearing the same pullover and hoodie as he is in this scene, where he's in the car putting a silencer on his gun, and where he also covers his face, so shit's about to get real. But who is Tariq pointing his gun at, and where is his Porsche? In episode 2, Tariq finally stopped walking around New York because he bought himself a brand new Porsche, but this definitely ain't it. Now this isn't the only scene where we see Tariq with a gun in hand. There's also a scene where he pulls out the strap from his drawer, which what looks like from his dorm room, as well as pointing a gun at someone and telling them he loves them, but he will put a bullet in them.
I love you, but I'll put a bullet in you.
Now this was one of the hot topics from the season trailer. Who does Tariq love, but why is he willing to put a bullet in them? As we progress through season 3, the list of who Tariq loves has shrunk, and one person who I think we can now safely rule out is Effie.
Because I loved you.
Tariq's choice of words where he said he loved Effie and where he followed up with breaking up with his former girlfriend, I think we can safely say this relationship is completely dead, at least on a personal level. He may have also slept with Diana shortly after breaking up with Effie, but I don't think he loves Diana, and so there are only a few people we can narrow it down to: Lauren, Brayden, who he loves like a brother, and the wildcard theory, Tommy Egan. Now at some point we can all expect Lauren to be released or escape from protection, and where at this moment in time she's willing to help Tariq St. Patrick, will it always remain that way? Although Lauren with a box cutter in episode 5, is she capable of holding a gun at Tariq? Probably not. With Brayden, his relationship has been up and down this season, and for the first time in a while where we saw them talking about business, they ended their conversation without their signature handshake. Now this is a relationship that reminds me of Ghost and Tommy's. They get into fights, they make moves behind each other's backs, and we even saw Ghost and Tommy pulling the trigger on one another at some point in Power. But is Tariq and Brayden's relationship that broken to the point where Tariq would pull a gun on Brayden? Now we all know Power moves at a very quick pace, so who knows? But one thing we do know is, if Tariq feels threatened or there is someone in danger who he loves, we all know Tariq will protect himself and his family, and so here's the wildcard theory. At some point I do expect there to be a crossover with Force, just like we saw at the end of Power Book 4 Season 1, but I do think Tommy is definitely unlikely, because let's not forget, he's dead in New York. Although on the flip side, Tommy is someone who's never shied away or hid from the streets, so you can never say never, especially because we've seen him appear before.
I want all the smoke.
Now speaking about smoke, Noma's a character who's brought the smoke every time we've seen her on screen, which hasn't been often, but that's what I like about her character. They've kept her appearances short, sweet, to the point, but ruthless in her execution when she has been on screen. So we've got Noma and Obi with a bit of blood coming from the side of his head. Now we all know Obi isn't exactly fond of Tariq St. Patrick and the rest of this crew, and at some point, shit will definitely kick off, because at this moment in time, Tariq and the Tejadas organization is on pause, and that won't go down well with Noma. We also see Brayden and Tariq shooting at the warehouse, and if they're shooting at Obi and Noma, then they better have a very good damn reason for doing so, and they better have a plan, because we all know Noma, she definitely doesn't play games. Now speaking of characters not playing games, Monet's also another who's not messing around. In the first half of season 3, she was out for blood to avenge Zeke's death, and now she's all about control and getting a grip on the Tejada organization as well as her kids. But Monet is someone who I do expect to butt heads with Noma at some point, either in episodes 9 or 10, because Caroline Chakisi, who plays Noma, did tease their interaction, and this is what she said. I think you can expect there to be fireworks, a bit of tension, but I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to spoil it for everyone. But Monet's ahead of the honcho, and then Noma comes along, and you can imagine, it's like, who are you? What are you doing in my territory? But it may not go the way the viewers think it will, so you're just gonna have to wait and see how it unfolds. But yeah, their paths do cross. So going into episodes 9 and 10, we can expect fireworks between Monet and Noma, but not the way we expect it to. Over from Monet and Noma creating fireworks, to someone who we also know can create fireworks, Diana Tejada. As always, Diana is a character who's always snooping around and finding valuable secrets, and I always like to say holding information in power is like holding a smoking gun. Now in episode 9's trailer, we see Diana holding a file, which I believe is Detective Whitman's police report, which had information of Lorenzo's fingerprints being found at the scene of the crime of Zeke's death, and I can only assume this is where Diana puts 2 and 2 together.
It's Monet again. She's always the problem.
So at some point in episodes 9 and 10, something's gonna have to give because these kids are getting closer and closer to finding out the truth, something that Kane already knows. But this is a storyline that I went into detail in my trailer breakdown, so I'm gonna link my trailer breakdown in the description. Now over to Kane protecting the Tejadas. We see someone shooting at the Tejada house with Kane firing back, which could potentially be the Castillos. We know that Evelyn's been asking questions around Gordo's disappearance, but in the trailer for episode 9, we hear Drew saying he'll take care of his mess. Drew was also taught by Lorenzo in season 2, no loose ends, and that's what I expect from Drew going forward, no loose ends. So I do see him handling business, but this could very well be blowback from Drew taking out the Castillos. But either way, I see this storyline coming to an end by the end of season 3, and a new threat being introduced for the Tejadas going into season 4, because there is only going to be one winner in this war with the Castillos, and that's the Tejadas. Now I also wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't the Castillos. I always talk about trailer manipulation, and the easiest thing for us to do would be pointing our fingers at the Castillo family, but if it's not the Castillos, then who could it be? But over to the Ponzi scheme and Brayden Weston. In a few of the scenes we've got Brayden pulling out a gun, and we've already been through Brayden and Tariq getting into a fierce shootout, but there's also Brayden pulling out a gun at a hospital, and the question I have is, not so much why Brayden's pulling out a gun, but more so who's in hospital and why. So that's something just to think about going into episodes 9 and 10. Why is Brayden pulling out a gun and who's in hospital? Now with Brayden, shit really is about to get real. At the end of episode 8, Effie came face to face with Lauren, and so did Kane. So at some point, I do expect Kane to gun for Brayden, trying to get down to the bottom of why Lauren is still alive. He claimed that he got rid of Lauren, but when Kane put 2 and 2 together, he found out it was Effie and not Brayden, which wasn't such a problem because Kane thought Lauren was still taken care of. But now that he knows she wasn't, I think we may see Kane calling in that body that Brayden owes him, and not just because of Lauren, but because of the Ponzi scheme. Tariq's trust, RSJ's money, and the Tejada money is all tied up at Weston Holdings, thanks to Lucas Weston. And so this is where Brayden's gonna have to make a choice. Will it be the Westons, or is it gonna be his street fam? So we're getting closer to that stage where Brayden's gonna have to catch his first body, either Lucas Weston, Kiki, or Lauren. Now in one of my previous breakdowns earlier in the season, I did also raise the question, would Kane come back and collect 2 bodies from Brayden when he finds out Lauren's alive? That's also something to think about, or again, in typical Power fashion, I wouldn't be surprised if this is something that rumbles on into season 4, with Kane coming back to collect next season. So those are just a few theories around Kane coming back to collect that body from Brayden. Now speaking of characters that need to go, this is another burning question we've had since they dropped the official trailer.
She has to go, Tariq.
In the early parts of season 3, we raised a question about whether Davis was talking about Jenny Sullivan, Blanca Rodriguez, Diana, Effie, Lauren, or even Monet Tejada. And now that we start to see some of the plots and storylines unfold going into the penultimate episode, I'm leaning more towards Monet Tejada. Earlier we went through how Diana will say it's Monet again, and she's the problem. She's also killed Detective Whitman and has a hell of a lot of bodies connected to her, and it's only a matter of time before we see the Tejada kids turn on Monet, just like Lorenzo warned her in a hallucination scene. So the only person Monet will have left in a corner is Davis and Tariq St. Patrick, although there is no telling how Davis will react to Theo's death, and we all know how Tariq will look out for number 1, and Tommy did warn Monet of the same.
If I was you, I'd be careful with this one.
I also feel at some point law enforcement do need to get a win, and I don't think they're going to get that win with Effie, but someone does have to go down for all these bodies, and when is Monet going to pay for all the bad shit she's done? It also goes back to my investigation board breakdown I created in the Power Off season, where I said Monet is in big trouble, so I definitely stick by my theory from last year. Episodes 9 and 10 is also where I expect them to set up some key storylines going into season 4. So we're going to see some chapters being closed, some chapters being left open, and also them setting up some new ones. And this is where we could expect some returning characters. We know Agent Medina will be back in episode 9, but what about 2-Bit? Michael Rainey Jr. did tease on the Crew Has It podcast earlier in the season. 2-Bit did play a part this season. Now whether it's a cutscene that didn't make the final take, or whether it's yet to come, who knows, but we all do know he never came back to collect from the end of season 1. So that's a storyline that's definitely still open. There's also characters like Roberto, Cristobal, Ramona, Destiny, Elisa Marie, and a whole host of others that we can see come back at any given stage. We also saw what they did in 4 Season 1 with Liliana, and how quickly she became a fan favourite, and as they say, if you're not confirmed dead in the Power universe, there's always a chance you can come back. So with that being said, that's a breakdown of the scenes that we've not seen from the teaser, official trailer, and season trailer from Season 3 of Ghost. And now the comment section is open up to your guys' thoughts and theories. So drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.